What's cooking, everybody? Dave Altizer here with Kinotika, and today we're doing a top 10 video of the Canon M50. When the Canon M50 was officially announced, I was not very impressed with it, but now that I've had it in my hands and I've used it, I actually think that I was wrong. So let's just jump into this top 10 video. Number 1, and I think one of the most important things, it has 4K. Now, the 4K on this camera is very odd because in a lot of ways, it's very good. It records 4K at 120 megabits per second, which is really high quality. And the 4K looks great because it's Canon color science, but there's a 2.4x crop compared to full frame, which is really weird because some of the lenses that are normally really great for this camera, like the 22mm f2 lens, becomes like a 50 essentially. Number 2 is this camera has a Digic 8 processor. If you're not aware, the Digic 8 processor is brand new from Canon, and this is the first camera to get this new processor. This camera is using the same APS-C sized sensor that all the other Canon cameras have from the 80D on, but because this has a new processor in it, we're getting better image quality and better low light performance. The quality of just the 1080p video is looking great, and the dynamic range of the raw images on this camera are really great as well. The third thing you should know is that this camera can do 120 frames per second slow-mo video. Now, it does do it at 720p, but the fact that this camera can do it is great. Number 4, autofocus. One really neat thing about the autofocus is the eye detection. It's a brand new system from Canon. I think it's coming because of the Digic 8 processor, and it works surprisingly well. Not only do we get face tracking with the phase detect, phase, I know it's kind of confusing, but we get face tracking. We also get eye detection. It's working really well. Just that extra additional locking point with the eye detection really helps nail that shot. Unfortunately, with this camera, when you shoot 4K, you lose the dual pixel autofocus and the eye detect. It goes to a contrast-based autofocus system for 4K, and in my opinion, it's completely unusable. It's unreliable, and it's something that you do not want to do. And what makes me really angry about that is the fact that the CEO of Canon has come out and has actually admitted that they have disabled the dual pixel autofocus on purpose to protect their higher end lineup. However, that leads me to the 5th point about this camera, and that is that it has focus peaking. Focus peaking is a very good thing to have, and I don't know why all Canon cameras don't have this built in, but for some reason the lower end mirrorless cameras, all the way from the G7 all the way up to this M50, have focus peaking. And I will say that the focus peaking on this camera is really reliable and really great. The 6th thing to know about this is the size and weight. It's small and light. The 1DX Mark II weighs over 3 pounds. The 80D weighs about 1.5 pounds. This camera, the M50, weighs 0.85 pounds. And for you metric people out there, that is 0.39 kilograms. I use Siri for that. I didn't know that. When people hold this camera for the first time, because it's so small, it's hard for people to wrap their hands around it.
That's what she said.
But once you know the buttons and you know the layout, and once you set up the buttons here to be white balance and different things like that, ISO, it becomes pretty easy to use, and it's not too bad. The 7th thing to know about the M50 is that the price is just right, which is really surprising from Canon. Canon typically overprices their products because they're usually seen as one of the best companies in the game. However, I think currently Sony is really eating their lunch, and they are having to compete in a lot of ways. In fact, right now, if you buy this camera on B&H, there's a $200 discount, making it $699 with the kit lens, which in my opinion is a great deal for what this camera is. The 8th thing to know about this camera is that it has a mic input jack, which is perfect for the Video Micro. This mic only costs $59 and it's high quality, but what's really great about this camera is the preamps inside of it are actually really good. Almost all Canon DSLRs have atrocious preamps in them, so you have to use the Video Mic Pro and boost the signal so that your noise floor is lower and you don't have as much noise. For the first time ever, however, I'm able to use this Video Micro, which doesn't require any power whatsoever whatsoever to use, and the audio sounds great. One downside, however, of the mic placement is it's really unfortunate, but it hits the flip out screen, as you can see here. So if you're wanting to do selfie mode, you have to flip it out, flip it around, and then pull it around. Then you can do the selfie mode, which is great. It's great that it has it, but it's kind of unfortunate that it's in kind of a bad spot. The ninth thing to know about the M50 is that it has a clean HDMI out. Now, I'm not aware if it's outputting a 422 8-bit signal so that you can record that on an Atomos or something like that, but I will say that it is completely clean, so you can use this camera for live streaming, which I can see why Canon would do this, because a lot of people are buying cameras in this price range to do live streaming. By the way, if you guys want to see some Kinotika live streams, let us know in the comment section below. We're still trying to figure that out, but this potentially could be one of the best live streaming cameras. Number 10 is that this thing has a really interesting Wi-Fi system. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connect to your phone, and it works really well. But what's really interesting is even when you turn off your phone or turn off your camera, it just stays connected. Another really interesting thing about the Wi-Fi Bluetooth connection is that every time you take a photo, if you enable this feature, the camera uses the GPS positioning of where your phone is and tags your photos. So essentially, this camera is using your phone's GPS coordinates to tag your photos. And number 11 of our top 10 video, well, it's a bonus, is that there is a new RAW format on this camera for stills. It's called C-RAW, and it's compressed RAW. In the past, if you wanted smaller file sizes but still wanted the benefits of RAW, you had to switch to medium RAW or small RAW. You lose all that resolution. Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore because they have compressed the RAW in this new format. It makes the file sizes 30 to 40% smaller, but keeps the full resolution of the sensor. Overall, from Canon, I really think that the M50 is potentially the best deal in Canon's entire lineup. And if Canon is putting this much effort into making a beginner level camera this good, it makes me really excited for what's going to happen in the future in the Pro lineup. Make sure to stay subscribed to our channel. We're gonna be doing lots of other videos about the M50. And if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check out our Office parody that we made. It's really funny. It was a lot of fun to make. It's a lot different than what we normally do, but it's featuring the M50. And if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. If you have, then thanks. Once again, I'm Dave Altizer. This is Kinotika. See you next time.